Okay. So this is this soft copy which I prepared very long back. I would like to share this with you guys. Okay. First, let me share it with you. Or I will attach here if it permits. Yeah, you guys can download it. Okay. It's simple. 2 MB file. Most of the examples also given with the practically how to do, including configurations and all. Okay. And coming to examples, Spring HTML, yeah. You can get all the examples and jar files here. Okay. So here you can download jars. Here you can download Hibernate examples. Okay. The link also shared with you. Are you all able to access? I shared soft copy material and this link also. You can check it in your chat. Okay. And I would like to invite you all to this WhatsApp group. So join this group as well. Copy and share. Yeah, join this WhatsApp group also. Okay. Now coming to the agenda of this workshop, right? I wanted to cover basics of Hibernate. Okay, I'll be giving you few examples also. If you are not aware of ORM, you will get a little bit idea what is ORM, how it is helpful in our regular programming. Okay, so I'll be covering basics of Hibernate. How many of you are already, you know that Hibernate or JDBC and JPA? Do you guys have any idea before?
No idea.
I have also idea.
Yeah. So if you have knowledge about it also, just brush up here. If you don't know, it is also fine. Okay. I'll be covering from the scratch. So you will get enough knowledge on Hibernate also. Yeah. So coming to Hibernate here, this tool given for particularly database CRUD operations only. Where exactly Hibernate will fit into your application means Generally, we follow MVC architecture for any web-based application or standalone or microservices. So for our MVC-based applications, we will be having front-end, back-end. So as part of back-end, front-end is like your swings. If you are developing standalone applications, which are running in your local machine, or AWTs, or JFCs. For standalone, if you are building web application, HTML, CSS, JavaScript combinations, or any frameworks also you can use, or mobile-based UI, mobile UI. It can be anything, okay? So as per MVC, front end can be built using any of this technology. Coming to back end, again, it will be divided into service layer and a DAW layer. Importantly, service, DAW, and controller. So when you build application using swings or HTML or mobile based anything, to transfer data from your front end browser to back end server, we will be using one server between like
Hello?
Tomcat. Yes,
Hello?
yes, yes. Am I audible?
Sir, yeah, I just now joined. Would you repeat some?
Yeah, just we started with MVC only. So I'm explaining MVC architecture where Hibernate will be used in your application. Okay. So front ends will be designed, standalones will be designed by using Sphinx or AWTs or JFCs. If it is a web-based application, you may use web-based technologies here. And if you want to build mobile UI, you can have mobile technologies here you can use.
Sir,
Coming to
swings, W2, JFC, or Java.
standalone, yeah, standalone libraries for designing GUI, like calculator GUI if you see, or calendar GUI. This you can design by using AWT swings or JFCs or
JFC,
calendar.
previous name, sir.
Java faces something. Java, I need to recollect. So here maybe calendar based applications. Okay. So these are like swings only, but it is little advanced framework. We can convert standalone to web also. Very long back, maybe 6-7 years back, this is introduced. I didn't see much applications are using it. Okay. Basically for front end standalone UIs also, here we can use CSS based stylings and all. Okay. I don't want to go into it. Okay. Now to read data from front end, we use controllers here. So the controller technologies, if it is a standalone, simple Java logic must be enough. Maybe a event listener we will use. If you are using standalone, we will be writing event listeners. When you click a button, we read using event listener. If it is a web-based application, you must need a servlet technology here. You can use servlets or servlet-based frameworks like Struts, MVC, or Spring Boot. These technologies you can use. I mean, these frameworks build on top of servlets only. These are for web-based applications, in case if you want to access data which is coming from web UI or mobile UI. If you want to build REST-based applications also, they all built on top of servlets only. For standalone, you can have event listeners to read data from here. Okay, once after reading data, if you have any business logics, that business logics you can have here. Your controller will read data and take it forward to business class. So here all required business operations, plus minus, whatever you want to do. All your arithmetic calculations or plus or minus, or any set of business logics you can have here, your business logic. Hereafter, to keep data permanently into our machines, okay, we will be using database tables to keep information permanent. We will be using database tables. Into the database tables, we will insert data or select data from the database tables if you want to see, using DAO classes. So for this service layer, maybe your core Java must be sufficient. And if you want to handle transactions, you can use transactions, Spring-based transactions, or core-based transactions, or any other helper libraries. If you need, you can use here third-party libraries if you want to do logging, mails after your business calculations. Not mail technology, anything. It depends on your business. If you want to send emails after your business operation, if you want to send SMS, any integrations you can do here. And finally, to persist your
Transactions is a
data,
module, sir. Spring transactions in Spring Framework.
yes. So DAO responsibility is to deal with the database. So it may be, it can create tables, means DDL operations, and you can update, delete, insert your records, which are a DML operation. And if you want to select data from tables, you can do DRL operations. Okay, any DDL, DML, or DRL operations you should able to apply on database from DAO, which we call CRUD operations: create, retrieve, update, delete. Means insert, retrieve, update, delete. Always we used to do these operations on any database. So to handle CRUD operations, we have technology JDBC. This is the core technology. Okay, the core technology given by Sun Microsystem. Without JDBC, we cannot connect with any database. Even as of today also, without JDBC, it is impossible to connect with any database. So this JDBC library given by Sun Microsystem, when they designed Java, when they released Java for enterprise applications, basically applications should able to connect with the databases, okay, to save information which is going from front end to back end, right? A technology that compulsory needed is JDBC. So without JDBC, it's impossible to connect with databases. So in JDBC, you can able to do any CRUD operation. Either you can insert, retrieve, update, or delete. Okay. But for advanced programming, simple plain JDBC is not sufficient. So people thought of design one more wrapper on top of JDBC, like how on top of servlets frameworks came, right? Struts, JSF, Spring MVC, Wicket, many frameworks designed on top of servlets to easy controller job to make, easy controller job here for the developers, or from the architecture point of view, to make your application coding simple. These frameworks were introduced for controller part. Now for DAO also, the core technology is JDBC to deal with the database and to make us more comfortable on CRUD operations, right? On top of JDBC, for enterprise applications, initially when EJB is designed, right? Along with EJB session beans, EJB entity beans concepts has given EJB entity bean. This is designed on top of, I mean, not on top of exactly. It is designed to deal DAO layer. Okay. They given so many features as part of EJB entity beans. EJB entity beans, inside EJB entity beans, we used to write JDBC code only. EJB entity beans will be wrapped JDBC. On top of JDBC only, EJB entity beans we used to write. EJB entity beans are capable to do so many things easily for creating your record or retrieving or updating, delete, to do CRUD operations. They made things very easy in EJB entity beans. So whoever worked on this EJB team, he thought of designing a similar framework by avoiding the problems or to overcome the problems of EJBs also. Okay. On top, similar features he added, and whatever drawbacks we have in EJB, he overcome that drawbacks and designed a framework called Hibernate. Okay. He designed Hibernate. If you guys read EJB entity beans, right, about entity beans, you will be seeing similar flavors like Hibernate in EJBs also. He designed the Hibernate framework. This is also will be using internally JDBC concepts only. That is the internal things. You will be not dealing with JDBC directly. You will be using Hibernate. So Hibernate, in simple words, it is making our DAO operations simple. For developers, it is making things simple from configuration to coding also. Okay, configuration and coding both are easy. Configuration, coding, maintenance, all these are, important factors for any business. Okay, if you are developing an application, right, and you should ensure that your application should be easy maintainable, and the application coding should be simple, and it should be configurable if you want to do any changes. So it will make your application simple, easy maintainable, and developers also efficiently they can work easily. They can finish their tasks instead of spending, many days. In my current project also, one guy was there. He don't know JP and all. He was suggesting us use JDBC. He is not convincing with me. Okay, the complete code is there in PLSQL. They asked us to convert it into Java-based application. So as he don't know any other technology, he picked directly JDBC and he is trying to write the code. I told him to don't use JDBC, go with ORM. It will provide many advantages. He is not listening. Then I explained how your application, he is from the business. So I told that the business importance also, if you go with the JP or Hibernate, right? So it will be easy to code. Wherever we are spending, months of time in JDBC, that can be finished in weeks. Within weeks, we can able to finish, so that we can able to save lot of time. Apart from it, maintenance also easy. In future, if new developers or new generation people, nowadays people don't know, who are learning directly Spring and working, right? They don't know the in-depth of core JDBC or SQL knowledge. Still, they could able to handle all the CRUD operations. That's how Spring framework they designed. In Spring, no code you will see. No code DAO layer concept they implemented. Means you need not to write anything. Spring Boot is doing everything for us. So for those
Sir,
people, right?
one question, sir. In Spring, what do we use? What Spring framework? Which module do we use for Hibernate?
I mean, there is no, rule that you need to use once a module. Spring with Hibernate, you can write if you are comfortable with Hibernate, or else you can go with the Spring, factories to integrate your Hibernate, or else you can go with Spring Boot with Hibernate combination, Spring Boot with JPA combination, Spring Boot with MyBatis combination, or else Spring Data JPA you can use. Okay, it's up to you.
Oh, even in Spring Boot we can use Hibernate. Okay.
Yes, you can use. Okay, it's up to you. Spring Boot is giving nowadays, right? It is giving no code DAO feature. Then why you burn your hands by touching Hibernate? Not required. But if you see that lot of customization is required, more than in my code, instead of having the default given Spring Boot, no code is not working properly. I need to do that a lot of customizations more than 60-70%. Then when you imagine that cases, right, you may pick Hibernate or JPA, anything else. But plain CRUD operations are sufficient for your application, then you need not to even write DAO layer. Okay, so everything on the fly Spring Boot will generate. It will generate proxies for you, automatic code it will generate. But to imagine that how it is generating, how it is performing, right? If you have Hibernate knowledge, then only you will understand what it is doing internally. So that a little bit customizations, if you need here also, this knowledge will help you. Otherwise,
So Spring Data JPA uses Hibernate, sir.
yes. Hibernate is the implementation for JPA. So without Hibernate, we are not going to use that libraries. Hibernate will be used in any Spring Boot project for connecting with database. Okay, such an important framework it is. Now, what I was telling is earlier, pure JDBC logic we used to use for doing CRUD operations, whereas EJB is introduced for enterprise applications. As part of EJBs are having two concepts: EJB session beans, EJB entity beans. Okay, in EJB entity beans, they given concepts like ORM concepts, object to table mapping concepts they given. Object to table mapping concepts they given. So whenever you bring data, right, here generally from UI, you will post data. If you are from UI guy, right, you easily able to understand it, right? Name, email, address data. If you are submitting from here, from UI, we will wrap it to JSON object. From there itself, we call it as object. So we wrap this data into a JSON. In the form of JSON, we put that data, name, email, address data, and we submit it to controllers. If you are using frameworks like Struts, Spring MVC, or Spring Boot, these technologies are capable to convert this JSON object to Java object. Let's say if it is student form, right? You can have a student bean class here. Directly, your data can be passed into student object, which is coming like a JSON, right? This JSON object directly will be converted by your framework, and it will give you in the form of Java object, so that it is easy to you to get the data or set the data into it. If it is a JSON one, you need to do conversion by using JSON libraries. You have to put it into JSON and you need to fetch what is name, what is email, what is address. But you don't have that burden. Spring Boot or Spring MVC, when you are using, right, directly, it populates your JSON data into one bean, and that bean will given to controller. Now it will say, controller, if you have any operations, do it, or else take it forward to business layer. Generally, controller job is get the data coming from UI and finally give it response. So that is the main first and foremost rule for the controller. So apart from that, it won't do anything. So as this frameworks directly populating this data into this bean, controller will do nothing. Just it will forward your data to service. Same object it will forward. So from the student, if they want to do any validations, let's say Hibernate Workshop is going on, and they're given this form, right? When you click, so they're given one form here to fill. So in that form, they were asking mandatory parameters: enter name, email, and phone number, which is mandatory. Even if you miss that fields, right? If you miss that fields, you should able to validate it. So in controller, we may do simple validations kind of stuff, and we will forward it to business. So along with reading your data, it may perform validations also. Okay. Now once you forward it to service layer, if they have any business logic, they will perform here. Let's say if they have any strategies, student information I received, I want to sell the student information to some third parties. Zoom daily will, we people thinking that Zoom data we only receiving it. Durgasoft only think that Durgasoft only will receive that data, but not only that case, right? Zoom will keep your information, and they may sell that information also. This many engineers are coming into the sessions. These all are the engineers emails and their phone numbers. They may sell it. They may sell it to, like, many companies like Udemy. So using your email IDs and phone numbers, they may send you some advertisements, buy this course, that course. Definitely they will do, behind they may do the business. I don't know about it, but that business logic they might have here, sending you emails or that stuff, they must be implemented inside this service logic. Okay. Any business, any strategy which you want to perform, that you will perform in your service layer only. That is what the actual core business we implement here. After that, data permanently, I want to keep it into database, so that this data I will use for future references. How many people joined so and so session, right? Who all paid the fees, who all not paid the fees, right? Who all are my regular students, who are all not. Maybe that is my business, so I want to save that data here. So to save that data, I will be using DAO layer here. So when you transfer this object, right, directly object you got here, controller got the object from JSON to object, the same object it will forward to service, same object will be given to service, same object will be given to service. All right. So here, if it have any database of, business operations, it will perform. If not, it will say, send the same data to DAO for doing CRUD operations. Now, once I received the data here, if you are using plain JDBC, right, you need to pick data from your object. From this object, right, you need to read each and every parameter, get name, get email, get address, and you need to attach that data with your SQL. SQL query you need to write, plus into that SQL query, you will be attaching data, right? In JDBC, that is how we will insert, right? Using statement or prepared statement, you will be seeing one SQL query and plus data also. One SQL query plus data also we will combine to it. Consider this is the DO logic. Okay, we will be writing SQL plus data also. We will append to SQL query, and we will send that SQL with the data to database. So the database will understand your intention and it will save your data. Okay, and here what we will do carefully in JDBC, carefully we open connection, we open statements, and finally we used to close that resources, connection dot close, and all operations we used to do. Along with them, JDBC will force us to handle exceptions also. It will say unhandled exception, please handle it. All right. So apart from writing logic, you will be handling some exceptions and all, and resources. To avoid resources leakages, you will be writing some resource close operations also properly inside try catch, and again in finally also to make sure your connections are properly closed. Nothing much we write in JDBC, but when you write such code to your application, right, your application will not behave like an enterprise application. It will behave like a simple student project. Okay, because to open connection and to close connection itself, it will take a lot of time. And in future also, if you want to do any modifications or changes, again you need to disturb your class, and you need to uh, edit SQLs, and combine the data again to it. You should be careful during maintenance phase.
One
Yeah.
question, sir. The data, sorry, connection pool, where does it exist, sir? Connection pool or database connections, set of connections in connection pool. Where is that connection pool? Is it in database or it is in Java application? It's confusing for me.
Connection pool of
Where does
connections database can give. Okay.
where does it
So
reside, sir? Those
in
connection
Java
pool.
only, Java layer.
Oh, not
In
in
Java,
database.
no. But end of the day, who is giving connections? Database only.
So connection pool is in Java.
See, connection pool, like, it is like tickets to enter into movie. Okay. So either you go to directly theater and get one by one ticket, and you can watch the movie. Instead of that, if you have a pool, in that pool, if you have a number of tickets, directly you can pick the ticket and go to the movie. Okay. So your database only having that connections capability. Connections only will provide you connections to connection pool. Let's say my database is capable to handle at a time 1,000 users. So you will be having 1,000 connections here in database. So instead of fetching one by one connections from database, what you need to do, at a time you need to reserve all your 1,000 connections and you need to keep it into your Java layer only. Inside your Java heap, you need to put all your connections. So that every time I need not to request database, please open connection and please close the connection. I will keep all the connections in live until my application die. All 1,000 connections, I'll keep it here. So every
So this
time
is this is
network
in
traffic you
DAO
can
layer, sir.
reduce. Yes.
This is, the connection pool is in DAO layer, sir.
Yes. For DAO layer. Okay. Of course, you may call it. It is a configuration layer we call. It's a configuration stuff. If you call it DAO, then definition will change, right? It is a configuration stuff, configuration kind of stuff. I want to configure 1,000 connections for my DAO operation. So you can configure it using connection pool. Connection pool is like a, like your carpooling. When you go to office in carpool, you will be having reserved cars so that you can utilize the car. Same car, other people also can use. Maybe in morning shift, they will drop you and again they will come back to office and pick up other people, right? Similarly, connection pool. At a time, all the connections which database is having, we can get here, or else the minimum connections, whichever is required to your application. Let's say parallelly 20 connections are sufficient, bring that 20 connections to connection pool. And during your CRUD operations, instead of writing driver manager dot get connection logic, right? You can get connection from connection pool. Driver manager dot get connection is a costly job in terms of performance. This is very costly job. Opening connection directly and closing connection is very costly. So instead of, we should avoid it. Definitely, if you are working for a real-time application, you should avoid this open connection from driver manager and closing connection. Rather than what you should do, you should get connection from connection pool. Connection pool is a reserved pool. Already connections are available. So it will not request a database that Naveen is doing CRUD operation, give a connection. Instead, it will get the connection from connection pool only directly so that you can use it. After you're done, again, you can keep it into pool so that it will not create much traffic between your database server and your application server. So to avoid the traffic and to avoid the open connection and to close connection, the time it will take, right? To avoid that, we will be using connection pools. Okay. So here the problem we are, talking, right? In case if my application is capable to give data which is in the form of JSON to Java object, a beautiful concept, right? Which is in JSON or directly I'm getting into Java object. Why can't able to save this Java object directly into the table? Can't this database handle it? UI given me JSON data so that I can able to get it into directly Java object. My framework is doing it. Can't your framework do the similar here from your Java object to direct SQL? If I get direct Java object, I don't want to write any SQL code and I don't want to fetch my object data and append to my SQL. Directly, I want to keep my data into table. So if you want such a framework, what kind of intelligence your framework should have? Direct object, if you want to keep into database, if you want to design a framework to avoid SQL operations, opening connections and close connections, on top of it, there should be one more wrapper. On top of this, there should be one more wrapper. If as a framework, you should design that framework should do what? It need to read your data and it should understand which kind of SQL query it need to write, and it should bind the data, it should open connection, it should close connection. All such operations will be handled in Hibernate. Directly in Hibernate, what you can do, you can deal with object rather than SQL queries. Directly, you can give this student object to Dov, and here you can use Hibernate as a medium between your database. Okay, Hibernate you can use between your database and table. So this Hibernate will understand your intention when you give this object to Hibernate, right? In Hibernate, multiple methods are there. When you say to this Hibernate, I want to save this object, it will say, okay, I will take care. You perform your business logic, and if you need any validations, you just focus on that logic. You need not to bother about save operation, writing SQL query and data. I'll be taking care of it. Who will say that? Hibernate will say that. Hibernate designed in such a way, you give object to Hibernate, Hibernate will save that data into database table. Or if you ask for a student object, if you say there is a so and so student, his roll number is 123, can you give me that object? Hibernate will say, okay, I'll give you that object. But in database side, your data is not in the form of object, it is in the form of database table. Hibernate will take care from converting table, object to table, table to object. End of the day, Hibernate is doing what? Your table to object, object to tables, it will do. Not only conversion, it can save your data, all CRUD operations it can handle. It can save your data, it can retrieve your data, it can update your data, it can delete in the form of object only. As a object-oriented programmer, you need not to worry about SQLs. As an object, programming, as you know, object-oriented programming, you are dealing with objects, you just deal with the object. Here, if you have conflict, I'm a Java developer, I don't want to touch SQL, it's okay. For you only, Hibernate given. You just deal with the object, Hibernate will take care of CRUD operations. By writing SQL queries, Hibernate will write SQL queries for you. Hibernate will open connections for you. Hibernate will create connection pool for you. Hibernate will ensure to close connections for you. Then what you need to do? You should learn how to use Hibernate. Earlier, it is like a gear car. So I should learn there everything, how to, press clutch, how to shift to first gear, then second gear, third gear, fourth gear, reverse gear. I should learn that. Now, Hibernate is like a, automatic car, no gears car. Just you need to know how to, use your brake and accelerator. That is sufficient in Hibernate. If you go to Spring Boot to Data JPA, that is like a Tesla car. Just you need to buy it, that's it. And you need to set your location where you should go. It will take you there. Even you need not to touch your steering or accelerator or brake. Okay, that much advanced the Spring Boot Data JPA is. Hibernate is like a one level, advanced. Then the JDBC and Spring Boot Data JPA is fully automated car, like your Tesla car. Okay. So end of the day, using Hibernate, is that the only benefit? Creating connection pools and, opening connections internally and executing your SQL plus data on the tables and closing connections. Is that the only capabilities it is providing? Means no. Apart from this, for enterprise applications, right? There are so many, there are so many challenges you will face. As a student, or if you don't aware of the database, or if you are just learning, you will be seeing simple save operation, update operation, delete operations, and you will be thinking that okay, this is only much I need to do. during application development. But beyond that, there are more logics that you need to write even for the, database operations. Okay, so to handle all such enterprise problems, they given some easy solutions also. They given some easy solutions. One of its great solution is, auto primary key generators. Auto primary key generators. Let's say you are a student joining into a college. Will they give you roll number based on your grade and based on your name? No, based on your joining time, based on the next available roll number, they will provide to you the roll number. The similar thing, if people ask you to implement in application, what you should do here, you should know what is the existing roll number. My roll number in BTech is 06371A something. There they included college code and the year which I joined and my department ID, then my roll number given. After me, whoever joined next, for him they will allot that roll number. So that allotment roll number logic, who should write? When you book ticket, your ticket ID will be there, a unique ID when you book ticket in Book My Show or somewhere, or when you book a ticket for bus or airplane or train, there will be one unique ID will be generated for you. Who will do that for you? In DAO only, the logic will do that for you. Who should write that logic? You should write that logic. If it is a JDBC, lot of such logic you should write for doing that increments or decrements or assigning a roll number kind of stuff, right? You need to write some additional logic here. So all such operations also Hibernate will handle for you. Is that only the benefit it is providing apart from connection pools and all? No. Apart from that, let's say daily some data I'm getting from my database, which is very common, right? From Durgasoft, I'm doing students registration here. So I'm listing out all the courses details here. So I'm asking to students to pick the course. From the drop down, he's picking that course. So to provide before user entering his details, name, email address, right? Student, he need to pick a course here in the drop down. Okay, courses are fixed in Durgasoft, maybe monthly or when they decide new technology they want to teach, then they may update the table, course table. Otherwise, courses will be common. Since last 1 year, the courses I see common. They are teaching Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Archil, SQL, PLSQL, AWS, and other DevOps tools they are teaching here. If they want to add a course which is having license, right? Maybe they don't risk. If they have license, they might add it also. So maybe frequently they don't update that course table. So if there is no frequently updated table, why should fetch that data every time for each student? Student count is daily increasing. In a month, 1 lakh to 2 lakh students are coming to do the registration here. So for each student, I need to fetch courses data from courses table. Why should fetch 3 lakh times that course data? If it is a fixed number of courses, shall I hard code that data here? No. If you hard code in future, if I do the changes here in the table, that will not reflect. You should not hard code, as well as you should not fetch every time. In JDBC, do you have any logic that you can able to avoid this multiple times fetching? No, there is no such logic. You need to implement some caching logic. You need to write some algorithm yourself to handle it. But in Hibernate, you need not to write algorithms. Hibernate given cache facility to you. Whichever data you think that is not frequently changing, it can keep the data into caches. You can do such configurations also. Hibernate, to the Hibernate, you can say, hey, Hibernate, there is a course table. You need to cache that table. Hibernate will say, okay, boss, I'll keep it into the cache. So that your data will not fetch from the table. It will keep it into cache, though 3 lakh times or 10 lakh times or millions of times users request also, it will not hit your database. Why is it hitting database is a costly operation? Of course. While dealing with your database, carefully you should deal. Getting data from table or putting data into the table, everything, dealing with your database is costliest operation. So
Sir,
you
one
need to
question.
carefully see. Yeah.
In configuration, do we have connection pool?
Mhm.
In Hibernate configuration, do we have connection pool, caching, everything?
Yeah, that's what it will perform. Via configurations, you can provide everything so that it will perform for you. So it's a configurable. You need to configure as a developer. I want a primary key, so you configure it. It will perform for you. Everything it cannot imagine. It is having lot of features. It is having lot of features. You need to enable that features. If
Or
you have
even the
AC in
number
your
of
car,
connections, even the number of connections
everything,
in.
everything, which is, see, car given with AC, car given with heater, car given with a lot of ambience lighting and all. You should use that buttons if you require. So Hibernate is having so many features. It's your responsibility to configure them. At least configuration we should do. Otherwise, it cannot imagine, right? If it is a standalone application, you need connections, maybe one or two. If it is a big enterprise application, daily students are coming to learn. They are logging into my application. I have a portal. So their users count is daily thousands. So for such applications, if I leave default connection one, will that sufficient? No. So during your application coding, based on your business, your responsibility to provide sufficient number of connections. So all such, not only that, in JDBC, one irritating thing is exception handling. Always it will ask you to handle handle exception. Though your code is perfect, also it will ask you to every time handle the exceptions. So you need to put try catch, or you need to have throws to take it forward. So that exception handling stuff also not there in Hibernate. So they suppressed all your JDBC exceptions. Internally Hibernate using JDBC, but they suppressed it. All exceptions in Hibernate are runtime exceptions, not compile time exceptions. So that during coding, it will not force you to handle it. So why they are not doing it? They are confident enough that their code is properly working. Otherwise, they also would be asking you to handle it. So if your framework is handled enough good framework, maybe it will not throw exceptions during compile time. It may throw exceptions runtime. Again, it's up to you. Okay. Yeah, compile time exceptions are not really bad, and runtime exceptions also not bad. If you ask me, compile time exceptions are good, but it's okay. We should not go into that argument. So that benefit also Hibernate is providing. So as a developer, you can sit, relax, and you can write code. You can sit, relax, and write the code. Just a minute, guys. Just a minute. So exception handling features also they have given. I mean, it will handle exceptions, not features. It will be handling your exceptions. Yeah, this recording will be available, okay? In YouTube available. I'll add it in our blog also. So if you refer the material which I shared, right? Have you all able to access it? Okay, I given in the chat, download it. And examples are there in the second link. Okay, and WhatsApp group is there in third link. Download this book, okay? From beginning to ending, all the examples has given. I'll start one by one example so that you will get realization easily. Okay, we will start with JDBC. Okay, plain JDBC I'll show you. Okay, I don't want to stretch much into JDBC. Okay, so plain JDBC one CRUD operation I'll show you. Then on top of Hibernate, JDBC, how Hibernate is working, you can understand. Then clear architecture I'll explain you. Okay, clear architecture I'll explain you. Hibernate, how it will work. Okay, you want me to reshare? For sure. Have you all had your breakfast?
Sir, Hibernate example, Hibernate examples
లింక్ ఇచ్చాను
linkers.
చూడండి. అది కూడా ఇచ్చాను.
Mhm.
See, the second one is the Hibernate examples link. There you have jar files and okay, this one also. Today I'll try to give you example Hibernate with basic servlet integration, Hibernate with the Spring also. Okay, if time permits, if you guys cooperate me. Okay, yeah, tell me.
First link, sir.
In first link, when you click first link, it will take you to portal. Are you guys able? Yeah, you can access, right? See, here you have jars, all the Hibernate 3 version jar files we have. Download it, and Hibernate examples you have here. If you click this download, 235 KB only we have. Just open that library, extract it. I don't want to buy. Okay, so you can see lot of Hibernate examples given. Basic CRUD operation onwards, basic insert, basic delete. Okay, basically how to do update operation, how to select a single row. Okay, and cache examples you can see. Okay, and a web example also I given for primary key generators. And there are ease relationship concepts. Okay, so that is relationship examples given, and has a relation like one to many, one to one, or many to many examples given. And there is a concept like HQL in case if code is demanding you, business is demanding you write SQL queries, still you can avoid that SQL queries for the feature maintenance, make it easy. You can use HQLs. That HQLs also you can write. Hibernate given validations API also, you can use that validations API. And there are multiple dialects we have. You will be seeing what is dialect, and auto DDL features also give. Beautiful concepts coming to Hibernate. Spring is also a great framework, but I used to surprise in the beginning days. Hibernate, given very beautiful concepts, which are really, really impressed features they given for real-time application development. Okay, I'll be going into each feature. Okay, let's take break. Okay, let's take break for 15 minutes and come back. The line is open, so guys, don't close this link again. If you rejoin or not, I don't know. So I'll be keeping this link in mute. Okay, I'll come back in 15 minutes. So if you all want to tea, coffee, or breakfast, let's have it. Okay, we will jump into the examples later. I'll show you the architecture also.
Sir, one question. Can we connect to MongoDB from Java
Yes,
using Hibernate?
of course.
MongoDB, Cassandra, they are NoSQL,
Yeah.
right?
In material, I mentioned that if you see, if you open material, okay, na, the first headings itself, what are the main, benefits of Hibernate mentioned there? Open this document.
Oh, Hibernate is not for RDBMS. Okay.
No, it is for RDMS. That is what ORM. ORM definition is object to relationship database, relational database. Object to relational database mapping. ORM means objects ni relational database ki map jese tool అని అర్థం. Okay.
OGM.
Relational database means RDBMS.
Okay.
OGM, object graph mapping. Object to graph database or document database. You may call ODM or OGM. You have graph database also, right? Graph. They will put head and tails references and store your data.
Graph database and example answer.
Mongo itself, Mongo or Cassandra is having that feature. Graph database. In Mongo also, I think we can.
Sir. Document and tells కానీ అంత తెలియదు.
I think we did this for Cassandra. Cassandra or in Mongo only we did this. Mongo also having graph support, I believe. You can create graphs also there.
Okay.
Graph is nothing but like, while saving records, it will save it in a way. We will discuss it, okay? I don't want to go into it now.
Okay. Okay.
Later we will discuss. I don't have these examples, but using Spring Boot, you can do it easily. Okay, let us focus on ORM.
Okay. Okay.
When you use Spring Boot, ORM and ODM or OGM, there is no much difference. For everything, it will create code on the fly. I'll try to give example with Mongo and Oracle as well, okay? So that you will be getting clarity.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Shall we go for break? We all will return back by 11:17, okay? 11:17. Yeah, I'll keep this line open, okay? Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. I'm in. Shall we continue? వినిపిస్తుందా? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. So let's start with the JDBC application. Okay. So let's create a simple JDBC project. And I'll do simple insert, update, delete operation. Okay. So this class notes also I'll prepare here. So the first example JDBC. Here we will do one insert, one update, delete, and one select. Okay. For that purpose, I need a table. So we need to create a table, create table, table name. So students, HIB, Hibernate students table I want to create, or Hibernate. So this is the main syntax for to create any table, create table, table name. Now every table will have some columns. Okay, if you want to prepare a student attendance book, how you will prepare? You will give one ID to him, then his name, email address, like that, right? In a book, if you want to take the attendance. So similarly in book, how you draw the columns, right? Table also will have the columns. The first important column for any table is ID. So in this ID, we will be saving students' IDs. Each student will have one unique ID. Apart from his name, email, name and name, maybe same name can multiple can have. So for safer side, for everybody, we will assign one unique ID here. So ID, you can take it as a number or alphanumeric. In my engineering, they give an alphanumeric 06371A, 1A. They given a character there between numbers. So if your ID is having characters, take varchar. If ID is just number, you can take number data type, and it should be primary key. While inserting, accidentally, if you try to insert same ID again, also it should not accept. Already one roll number given to me. If the same roll number try to assign to someone else, table should not accept. So table should strictly stop inserting it. So when you specify primary key, right, it will do that for you. Same ID when you try to insert, it will not allow. That is what primary key is for. And name, varchar 2 data type is there, like our string. In Java string, in database we use varchar 2. So name length 50 I will give. Or if you think if your name is like a big name, you can put 100. Email, email ID, maybe 100 is sufficient. If you are not thinking 100 sufficient, take 200. So just to ID, name, email, I want to save, that's it. Or maybe one more column, okay? Address. Varchar 2 of 200. Now create a table with this combination in Oracle DB. I installed Oracle, MySQL, multiple databases I have. So I will use Oracle here. For MySQL Workbench also I have. Let me use Oracle, which is very popular. Oracle 10G Express Edition is installed. If you guys also want to this database, let me know. I think I have link for this database. So this Oracle 10G is having web access also. Once after you install, you can able to open it in direct web without SQL Workbench and all. When you search with home, right, it will give you go to database homepage option. Via your web browser, you can access it. So this is database client. So here you can create your tables or select and you can see the data. Statement is running. Table is created finally. If you want to see the created table, right, use this command DESC, describe command. Described table name will show you your database schema. Schema means how it is created in database. So the table name is student, created column ID, name, email address, the data type number, varchar2, and the length for number not specified. For name 100, 200, 200. And is it primary key? Yes, this is the first primary key. One table can have any number of primary keys, okay? We call it as composite primary key. Yeah, we understand primary key is to avoid duplicate ID. Okay, so now I will do CRUD operations on this table using JDBC. When you want to connect with the database is a separate application, okay? It is separate application. Again, it is there in my local machine only. I'm writing Java code in my local only. So to connect with my local database, which is Oracle, right? I need to add Oracle library here. Oracle library I need to add here. Otherwise, I cannot connect with them. So when you download a database to your machine, right? You need to get the database jar files also. Okay. So here I have MySQL connector to connect with MySQL. Same way for Oracle also you will be having. I don't want to go there. In downloads, I should have
Sir,
Oracle
what are
jar
these
file.
jars, sir? What are these jars, sir? Drivers or?
Yeah, we call them drivers. The driver classes given as part of jars only. Sun Microsystem said, I don't have any database, just Java only I designed. If you people want to connect with my database, what Sun Microsystem said to all database people, you need to implement connection classes. Sun said to all the database vendors to implement connections. So they implemented MySQL given MySQL implementation. If you want to design your own database, right, you need to follow Sun Microsystem rules and you should create a connection and that jar file you should share it to your developers. Otherwise, they cannot connect with your database. Okay. OJDBC 14 jar file I have here. I'll be adding it into my class path. That's it. Why the jar is mandatory? Because I want to connect with the Oracle database. To connect with the Oracle database, they should provide us connection implementation. So that's why I added that. So now I have a DAO package.
Sir, OGDBC is the jar, right?
Jar.
For Oracle.
Correct.
So
Student
did you change
DAO.
the name or it's like that only from the beginning?
Same. It's their jar file. Okay. Oracle JDBC jar file. It's a name, right? Simple name. Oracle JDBC jar file. Now here I am writing a DAO class for what? For doing insert update, delete, and select. Okay, for doing insert, update, delete, and select. So for that purpose, I will write 3 methods here: public void insert, one method. This is the way that we write the DAO class. Okay, update, delete, select. So in insert, I will be giving ID, name, email, address. So during update also, something wrong address I entered, so I want to update my address, or wrong email I entered, I want to update my email or name using the ID, where my ID is equal to 123, update my address. Mistakenly I entered it. So for that purpose, I need a update method. And delete my record, or delete one student record who is having ID 123. Select a record who is having ID something. When they select, we need to get some list value here. List of map objects. I will return. Inside map, I will put key and value.
Sir, one student వచ్చేది.
Yes. Okay,
Then
one
why
map
do
is
we need?
sufficient. No, you are right.
Why
You are
do we
right,
need
exactly.
list, sir?
Let me put select all, exactly. One map is sufficient. Okay. Inside one map, I'll put the selected user record. Map, it holds key value pair. I'll put ID and the ID actual value from the table, name, actual name from the table, email from table, address and address. For many students, I don't want any ID. I want to get all the students. For each student, one map object. If I insert 10 students, 10 map objects I can see in the list. Okay, this is my DAO composition. This is how my DAO is. Now I want to do insert. So for doing insert, we thought of having plain JDBC, right? What we people used to do in plain JDBC, without connection pool, I am doing it. In plain JDBC, we do open connection always by loading the specific driver first here. To connect with Oracle driver, Oracle given a jar file. In that jar, there is a class they have given. As I said, right, Sun not given implementation. Sun said it is your responsibility. If you want to use my Java people, if they wanted to connect with your database, you need to provide implementation. So they have given Oracle driver, you need to load. Once you load Oracle driver and followed by driver manager code, right, dot get connection immediately by putting your database URL adbc colon oracle colon thin colon @ localhost 1521 and my database schema is XE
Sir,
with the username.
would you explain that string, sir? That is always confusing JDBC Oracle.
Just remember blindly it as a URL, your database URL. So this is common. See, just they put this name instead of this. If they put, Jeff instead of Oracle, JDBC in place Java. Java wants to connect with Jeff Oracle. It is thin driver or lightweight. Just they put naming convention. That's it. JDBC wants to connect with Oracle using thin layer. So I am telling to my driver manager. This is the input to driver manager to understand which kind of driver you are using. I'm saying thin driver. There are 4 types of drivers in JDBC. So this is the driver that we use in real time, thin driver. So I'm saying thin driver I'm using, and this driver manager is capable to bring a connection of any database. This is like a factory class. It can bring Oracle connection, MySQL, DB2, MongoDB or whatever the database is. If you provided the database driver, it is capable to bring you connection. Okay, so through this URL specifying that I'm connecting with Archil database, which is there in same machine, which is running in port number 1521. My database is running in this port. Right? Every application in your machine will run on a port. My Eclipse is running on one port. There is a Tomcat running on one port. TCP/IP protocol, to get access from net. There is a 80 port is accessed. So
Sir,
my database port.
connection is at schema level, sir, not port level.
No, schema level. So your database can have any number of schemas. I'm connecting with XE schema. Okay. There will be one specific schema for any application. You need to connect with schema only, not with database. Okay. Now username, password. I think it's a system admin. So what it will give you? So when this line fired right, it will see the go to your database. Wherever Archil is inserted, it will ask for one session internally. So then database will respond if username password is correct for this schema, right? This XC schema username is system admin. It will check whether he is having right credentials or not. If it is having right credentials, it will open one socket for you. It will open one session for you, and it will give that session in the form of connection. Now your connection is opened. Your connection is open. You can do anything with database now. Now using this connection, there are three flavors again to run your SQL queries. Create statement, prepared statement, and callable statement. Okay, callable, prepare, call. You have four, variants. You may go through them, okay? If you see any portal, they will provide you a lot of examples. So I'm using simple create statement just to insert statement object. Now you create your query. Statement dot create. What happened? Statement
Maybe in that create
execute.
statement.
No. It's execute actually. Yeah. Execute update. For inserting, I will be using a method name called execute update in JDBC. So here you should write insert query. To insert any data, right? What is the query that we should use? Insert into table name values. So here you can pass each value. ID, something student ID is 1. His name, something Praveen. His email ID, Praveen@gmail. And his address, Hyderabad. Something like this you can insert. So if it is SQL directly, SQL client, you can execute this query, insert query, so that it can insert. Direct insert query to insert the data. Data is inserted. Select star from. So one record got fetched as I inserted it. Now I don't want to do this from SQL client. I wanted to insert from my Java. So though you give the command from Java also, you need to give in the form of SQL only. The only language that database knows is SQL. It don't listen anything else. So you need to give same insert query here, insert into student Hibernate values. Now the data dynamically I'm giving here, so that you need to append. ID. Name should be in single quotes, wrapped with your double quotes. Name. Email. Address. whichever you are passing to your method, you need to pass here. Now it will execute in a same fashion. How it is executed in SQL, right? Similar way, it will execute from Java side. Via Java, I'm sending this data. So using statement and executing it. When I have a database console directly, I can run SQL. But whereas through Java, you are sending it. So you need to open connection first. Then you have to create a statement. Via that statement, you need to send your specific insert query. Okay, cool. After that, are we done? No. So after executing, you need to close your statement. You need to close your connection. Otherwise, database will think that after this insertion also, this connection will keep it alive for you. It will keep it live by thinking that maybe this person is doing something else operations. If we
So
don't close it,
we cannot directly close connections, sir. Statement needs to be closed too.
yeah, if you don't close, statement resource will be opened in your JVM, unnecessary memory it will consume. As part of statement, your SQL query and all there, right? That data will still there in your JVM. It's your responsibility to clean up your data, or else JVM also can do garbage collection. It will take time. You need to wait till then. So that is not good, right? Resources cleanup. You should ensure you should close it properly.
Sir, for one question, for name, what does it return? Class dot for name.
Nothing. Class it will return. Class. Okay, any JDBC questions you can ask me later, okay?
Okay.
So yeah, because it will eat a lot of time. Yeah. So now coming to update. The same thing you need to do. You need to load your driver, get the connection, create the statement, and the query will be changed here. In case of SQL, I want to change Praveen address from HYD to Mumbai. So I need to use the query like this: update student set address is equal to, what is the column name? Address only, right? Address is equal to, you need to specify the address which you want to update. I want to update it to Mumbai, where ID is equal to 1. Otherwise, this address will be updated to everyone. During update query, right? You should be careful. To whomever you want to update, you need to put where condition. So the experienced people will do what, while writing update queries, they will put where condition first before this. If they are working in, on production data. Otherwise, what will happen? They will put it and immediately they will run it. Then what will happen if there are 1 lakh students? All that student addresses will be modified by new address. So during address, you should be careful which records you are updating it. Okay. So this is how we will update it in SQL. So the data is updated. Praveen address changed to Hyderabad to Mumbai. Same update if you want to perform here. Same query you should put. Same query. Here you need to put the address whichever you want to update.
Sir, for all CRUD statements, it is execute update method only.
Where ID equal to ID. No. This is for DML operations only. Insert, update, to delete only. Insert, update, and next one delete. For selects, there is a different method. Okay. And coming to delete, whenever you want to delete, only for address only I'm limiting this method. Okay. Name, email, I see if you want to do that, do it. Only for address I'm giving this method. Now delete. So when you want to delete a record, this is the query: delete from student where ID is equal to 1. From is not required, but I don't know. One row deleted without from. See, without from also it is working. Maybe in MySQL I confused it. 0 rows deleted. Okay, anyway, your record is deleted. So again, you may insert it. Delete from also working, delete also working. I don't know. Okay, you put the same query here. Yeah. Same thing. Where ID is equal to ID, you need to append. And now select. So to select a single record, where condition you need here. To select a single record, select star means all the columns from student where ID is equal to 1 where is sufficient, right? Yeah. ID is equal to so and so ID. So not execute update. For select queries, you will be using execute query, right? Yeah, I remember. Execute query. When you run execute query, the data will be given in the form of result set. Data given in the form of result set object. This is like an array object. You need to iterate data from here and put it into your map object. Okay, map equal to new hash map. So now your data, you can keep it into map. Read it from result set and put it into map. To read data from result set, you need to write operation. While result set dot next, inside while, then you need to get string or get int. First column is into 1, right? So get int of first column data. It will give you ID. I want to put that ID into map. So let's put it directly. Map dot put of ID name, email, address. Read from result set, keep it into map object to return. These are what your column names: ID, name, email, address. And the next 3 data types are strings. rs dot get string of email and address. Now finally, close the resource also. See, you opened them, right? You close them.
Results at get into one, is it like a column, sir? First column.
Column. Integer, my first column. Get the first column data, which is integer. It will do typecasting. Or it will say that is a number. Directly it will add as a number to you. Second column is a string. Third column is a string. Fourth column is a string. Now finally, you return map.
Why do we have the empty string, sir? Put the key comma value.
To append it. If it is a string not required, okay. This is number, right? We appended it.
Oh, no, it stores in string.
No warning. Why so? This method puts objects belongs to type safe. Should be parameterized. Surprise. That is a number still allowing us to store it into string. I don't know, later it may throw error like converting. Now I want to select all the records, whichever students records I have inserted. I want to select all of that records. So now here you can remove this where condition. If you remove where condition, then it will bring all the records. Select star means all. Now same thing, right? For each student, I need one map object, and for all students, I need to create new map object. And let's add it into list of maps. List dot add of map. Done. All CRUD operations.
Sir, insert, update, delete, or DML.
Select our DRL.
Only select is DRL, right?
Correct.
So for DML, we have execute update. For DRL, execute query.
Correct.
Yeah.
For
And
DML, execute. DML means create a table. If you want to create a table I created from database console. If you want to create table also from here, DDL commands you should run using execute only. Execute. Only execute. Okay. Now let's check it. Test package. But you saw the time complexity and the carefulness that how much I spent during writing it. I came with knowledge of SQL. I came with knowledge of database connection. I came with knowledge of resource closing. I came with knowledge of try catches. And I'm doing proper appendings also here. Lot of stuff as a developer I'm doing here, right? So remember this pain, okay? Now create student.dao object. DAO dot I want to insert. One record I want to insert. There are no more records, right? The one which we have deleted. Okay, we have Praveen. Let me delete it. So now no more records. Let's insert data here. One Ravi at Gmail, Hyderabad. Now test it. Even not a single output statement I added here. If there are any exceptions that I can't see, right? Let me add print stack trace. Insert success. So I can see insert success, no exceptions. So your data must inserted here. The record Ravi must inserted here. Yes, it got inserted. Again, if you try to insert, as this is the primary key, it will not allow. If you are curious, try it. Unique key constraint exception violated. As you handled exception, next to 9th number output also you see, but it is not inserted. Okay, you got the exception. Anyway, that record is already there. It won't insert again. Now, if you try with new data, it will insert. Now insert success. So one more record got inserted. So 2 records are there in database. Now you can test the remaining methods also as DAO dot update. The same student address I want to change from Hyderabad to, you need to give ID and new address. I want to change it to Nellore. Let me comment it.
Sir, in CRUD, C means create or insert, sir?
Sorry?
In CRUD
C means
operation.
insert. Creating a record in database, not creating table. Okay. Insert.
Yeah. Insert. Okay. And okay, in CRUD, C, U, D, R, DML, R is DRL.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Now I'm changing my address. Update should also become success. Update also success. See, earlier address is Hyderabad. If I change it to something Nellore, it is changed. Address got changed. Now I wanted to delete this record.
How he know update the address? Why not he update the name? You never configure anywhere update the address.
In update query, I specified my ID na. Update student record, set his address
Okay.
to new address where his ID. I given my ID too. As a input, I given my ID too now here.
Okay.
So who is having ID 2? His record is updating.
Okay.
That's why IDs are, so much important. For every record, we should have a unique ID so that updating or deleting will be easy. Otherwise, if I updated with name, the same name if I have for 10 students, their records also it will update. So every table, that's why every table should have a primary key. Even every Indian have a primary key nowadays, right? Aadhaar number. That is our primary key. Aadhaar number is our primary key. Delete. Delete success. Record 2, I wanted to delete. Record 2 is deleted, only one record is there. Now let me insert this again for select operations purpose. Second record again I inserted. Now let's do select. DAO dot get map. DAO dot select. Select one record, student 2. You will be getting a map object. As a return, you will be getting a map object. You can print it. Showing address, name, ID, email, all your data coming. Now let's use select all also. Select all will give you list of map records. List of map records. Iterate over the list. And print your map.
Why don't we need to specify the generic for map inside list?
No, there while returning we didn't mention it. No, that's why.
Didn't
During return
understand.
I didn't mention. During return I didn't mention it. Here I didn't mention it. It's a simple list of map. That is why it is not allowing you to put string or string only. This method doesn't know na you are giving strings only return type or not. It may think of object also. So it is saying here why you are putting strings. If I get a object, how you can able to, how can I able to convert it? That is what hidden intention is in compiler. If I am returning from there A, how I will convert it into B? That is what it is saying. I am returning map only, but you are specifying map with string and string.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is how we do CRUD operations. Now same thing if I want to do it in Hibernate. If you want to do all this, once you learn with Hibernate or Spring Boot data JPA, you can avoid all this in Spring Boot data JPA, in Spring Boot data JPA. In Spring Boot data JPA, you will write zero code. Means you will be writing a simple interface here. That's it, with no code. In JDBC, I returned here all the complex statement up to 95 lines of code, right? We spent almost 1 hour of time. We spent so much our valuable time here. In Spring Boot data JPA, no code is required. Okay, it will write for you all these CRUD operation methods. Now coming to Hibernate. Before that data JPA, right? Data JPA also internally will use Hibernate only. So how Hibernate will work here? The same DAO I'll be writing with Hibernate. Creating a Java project. Second project, Hibernate CRUD operations. Okay. Now to use JDBC, you should add one Arkill jar file. To use JDBC, OJDBC 14 you should use. Where's my Hibernate library?
Okay.
Let me download Hibernate jar files also here. Hibernate jar files. To do Hibernate examples, right? Download these jar files and extract first. Extract to Hibernate jar files. All important jars I added here, including OJDBC 14. Now same CRUD operations. See line by line how we will be avoiding it. You can digest easily. First thing, we don't need to deal with SQL queries. We don't need to deal with SQL queries. In place of SQL query, in JDBC, you understand, right? You are dealing with SQL queries to deal with the database, right? Via JDBC, what you are doing to talk with your database. As a developer, you have data. Or as an end user, I given data. So this end user data or developer data, end user data I have. So this end user data, you need to read as a developer. That is what our job, right? You need to write code in such a way. You need to read his data. Plus you need to combine with SQL query. The data you need to read and you need to combine with SQL query. And you are using JDBC to execute this SQL query. So end of the day, the data is falling into table. The same data will sit here. Who do that? JDBC will do that. User data, we will be passing it into database table via SQL using JDBC. Now to avoid this SQL, I don't want deal with SQL queries. I want to deal with data only. As a developer, I am frustrated. I don't want to see this SQL queries. Just as street data I will give, you do whatever you want. I don't want to know SQL. So that's where Hibernate is useful to you. When you use Hibernate, as a user, as you know, user will submit data and developer will read that data. And data in the form of Pozo class. We'll be getting data in the form of our Pozo class, simple bean class. Developer will receive data in the form of Pozo class. Now just you need to give that Pozo class to Hibernate. Nothing much you need to do. Nothing much apart from it. Just you give that Pozo object to Hibernate. Earlier, how with SQL plus data JDBC is working, right? Same way Hibernate will work now. As a developer, I wanted to do save operation. Here they given a save method. In Hibernate they given via save method give this data. When you want to deal with this data using Hibernate, I want to save. Okay. Developer need not to worry. Send this data to your Hibernate save method. It will save your data. It will internally write insert query for you. Give update. Call update method. Hibernate will generate the update query for you. Call delete. It generates a delete query for you. There are methods, API methods given. In Hibernate, they given methods. For update, there is a one type method. For delete, one type method. And you want to select data? Still, you need not write SQL query. There is a select method. What is it? Get. There are multiple flavors. There is a method get. You give ID, it will give you data. And if you want to see all the records, there are methods like find all. It will give you all the records from table, whatever data you have. So Hibernate somehow it is eliminating code from you. Whatever code you have written, right, 95 lines of code, it is eliminating from you. Just you need to call save it, update, it will update, delete it, call get, it will give data. For select all, there are multiple approaches actually. So all that methods they have given for you, and they will take care of inserts or updates or delete. But how Hibernate will understand? How this will get that, intelligence to deal with this data? I given a data as a user, I given one POSO objective to Hibernate. How Hibernate will understand by going into this database which table it should update or which table need to insert? As a developer, one time that setup you should do. While Hibernate dealing with the database table, right, it should know when you call save method with a so and so POSO, which table it should call. When you call update, it should know which table you are calling. When it calls delete, which table you are calling. How Hibernate will know? It doesn't know anything until unless you give it. As a developer, this is your job. You need to provide mapping file. We call it as mapping file. Hibernate mapping file. Via Hibernate mapping file,
Sir, one question, sir.
Yep.
We can create tables also, right, using Hibernate.
Yep.
That is, then why are we doing this configuration?
We will talk about it, DDL feature, right? So, yeah. So if Hibernate also creating a table, how Hibernate will get that intelligence? Okay, you given student POSO class to Hibernate. Is it okay if Hibernate creates student BBA, student BBB, student XYZ? Or do you have any specific naming conventions as per your business? I want to create Durgasoft student table, Durgasoft course table. And who will specify primary key?
Our DTO,
Huh?
entity.
No, in a way via mapping file or in a way via annotation, you should inform to Hibernate. This is my table name, this is my column name, this is the length, this is the width. You should tell that everything.
Oh, we cannot use entity bin here, sir.
You can, that is a flavor. That is what I'm talking, right? HBM, Hibernate mapping. From the architectural point of view, go with file or annotation. You should give that configuration. Okay, let's not deviate. I will talk about it, okay? So now what Hibernate needs, what intelligence Hibernate needs? I'm giving a POSO to Hibernate, and that POSO should run on a table. That POSO data should run on a table, and it should able to do either save, update, delete, or select on that so-and-so table. So how it will understand this POSO should go to so-and-so table only. And when I try to update only address, how it will consider it need to update only address only, or how it will consider it need to update a particular record only, how it will get a particular record only from database, how all that intelligence Hibernate will get it. Or in my POSO class, I have a name variable, email variable, address variables I have. How it will understand that name should go to name column, email should go to email column, address should go to address column. Via this mapping file, it will get it. Mapping file is like a book to Hibernate. From this book, it will understand by reading. In this book, what we will specify, we give our POSO class, and we configure table also here. So from this POSO class, which variable mapping to which column, that we particularly specify here. Your POSO class variables mapping to your table columns here via mapping file. We call it as Hibernate mapping file. Why it is for Hibernate need to know what table it should touch for update, or it should use for update or for save, for delete, for get. When you pass your Pozo class to Hibernate, you will be giving Pozo only to your Hibernate via these methods. Then it should understand, okay, you called for save, so Hibernate, query engine understand it easily. As you called save, right, it knows that you want to do insert. Okay, insert query it can generate. That's not a big algorithm. Anybody can, write dynamic logic. Insert into table. Okay, insert into table name is required. For this Pozo, while this Hibernate trying to generate a insert query for this save method can draft up to here, insert into. After that, a table name is required. So Hibernate will check this HBM file for the table name. For this Pozo class, what is the table name? So the table name, it will get it from here. So then it will put the table name here. Table name. Okay, cool. Up to here, I generated insert into table name. Then what about columns? This Pozo is having variable name, email, address. In this table, what field should go into what column? That also I need to specify here. Which variable need to map to which column, that I need to specify here. So that comfortably it will generate insert into ID, name, email, address, values. From your Pozo class, right? It will get your ID, actual ID. If you pass 1 in your Pozo, 1. If you pass something Naveen and his email address, it will read all that data from your Pozo class and it will generate a query. Now, this query is generated by whom? Hibernate. Hibernate query engine will do that. Means a class which is generating queries. So now Hibernate is having insert query with data. Can't it able to insert into this table? Can't it able to execute this query? It can. Okay, how? It needs a connection, right? It have query, and what about connection? Again, like how you suggested your poser to table, right? You need to mention your connection details also in a configuration file. Via a configuration file, we need to provide one configuration file. In this configuration file, you need to specify your driver's information. Your driver's information you need to specify, which is your driver name, URL, username, password. That you need to specify here. So that using your driver's information, first thing, right, it can able to generate this query. That is cool. But before generating query itself, what it will do, it will establish a connection. Hibernate will establish a connection here. It will establish a connection here via your driver's information. That too directly connection it will not create. Using this driver's information, first Hibernate will create connection pool, CP. Connection pool it will create. So along with the driver information here, we specify our pool size also. For enterprise applications, plain open connection, closed connections are not recommended, I said, right? So Hibernate will use connection pool concept only. It will use connection pool concept. So the connection pool configuration also we do here. Okay, using connection pool configuration, it will understand how many connections you need. It will put it into connection pool. It generated insert query based on the method. As you given Pozo class to save method, so it understands that you need a insert query. It generated insert into, then to put the table name and to map into each column your Pozo values, it will refer your HBM file and it understands this Pozo mapping to which table and each Pozo column or each Pozo variable mapping to which database column. So it got complete intelligence from you only. You given the complete information. So what it will do, internally generates these queries and execute it on a database. Simple architecture. Simple principle they used and implemented it, but much powerful tool.
Sir,
So
one
you only
question.
giving configuration and you only giving POJOs and table configuration. Yes.
So you defined HBM, you defined configuration. Let's
Hmm.
say Oracle doesn't have the table. Will it create, Hibernate will also create the table?
Yes, I told you, right? It is having capability. We will discuss about that. That's a feature. Okay,
No,
not
I
only
mean,
create, it can do alter, it can do delete.
no, you're not understanding my question, sir. So
No,
fresh
I
data.
am clear. You given data, but you don't have table in database. That is what your question.
Yeah. If table is absent, will it create? That's my
Yeah,
question.
that we will discuss. Auto DDL support we have.
Oh, okay.
There are again, it's a big discussion. It will create. Okay. That is the only question you have.
Yes, sir. We don't have to explicitly tell. It's automatic.
No, it will create. But there are, so many drawbacks with it. That's a lengthy discussion we can do. Okay. I mean, I used to do that mistake initially. We never use that auto table creation. Okay. Until unless your table is having any special demand. That is not you know, uh, a useful concept until unless if you have special requirement. Yeah, because that concept will do what? Sometimes it may delete your table and recreate the new table. All data also may gone. So we should not that concept actually. Always that will be a validate. You know, in configuration file we will put validate here. So this validate will ensure whether your POSO mapped table is there or not. Your variable mapped columns in that table is there or not, it will tell us. And always it is a recommended way to create tables upfront. Don't ask Hibernate to create. Okay, you please create tables first. From your analysis, right, you will be identifying tables, entity relations, so that you need to create tables first in database. Don't use Hibernate's auto creation feature. Okay. Yeah. Else if you use it also no worries. But once after first time use, you need to update it to validate. Otherwise it will recreate the tables. Unnecessary issues you will see if you go with it.
Sir, what is the equivalent in Spring Data GPA for validate?
There is a configuration. Okay, in Spring Data JPA, same validate only. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, same. By default, it is null in none. None means nothing. Okay, it's like validate only. If you don't configure anything, that is none.
Every
There is a
time it
configuration.
recreates table.
No, it never. You need to mention that HBM to DDL. There is a configuration. If that is globally set default as create, it will create. But careful with that. Okay. In current project also, we have production data in my, shared database. Even the database architect who is working with us, right? He is new to Java. He don't know what's happening it. By looking into Google examples, he added that. Almost they created 20-30 POJOs and extra columns also they added in POJOs. Automatically all that extra columns added into production database also. They were asking, he called me and asking, did you created that columns? I said no. And immediately I started looking into his code and told him that you added this configuration so that it is created all the columns which you have added into your build. Then he understand the problem. Then he added the validate. Okay.
In your project, is it a Hibernate, sir, or a Data JPA?
Data JPA only, but similar, right? Internally it use Hibernate only. The underlying framework is Hibernate only. Okay. I hope I'm deviating. So now Here we are talking about the intelligence how Hibernate is getting when I pass a POJO. Via these two files, it will get that. Via Hibernate mapping file, it will understand how to generate SQL query and how to insert into a table. Via this drivers configuration, it will understand how to open connection and how to execute your statements. And do you need to bother about open connections, close connections, create statement or close statement or prepared statement? Nothing. You just use already, this framework had that button internally. They implemented everything. They had this button. They implemented it. A one-time stuff. They implemented it and given to us. And you can use it for any number of tables. One application can have 10 POJOs. For the 10 POJOs, you can have 10 tables and 10 mapping files. One configuration file to connect with your database. Let me show you a simple example, same CRUD example here. I would recommend you to don't write code here. Let's import the examples which I have already. Okay. Just import each example and do practice. Hibernate examples. I'll be using CRUD insert. Import existing project. Finish. So here these jar files I should add. Hibernate jar files added. Cool. Now coming to code. So here I have first thing what you need to do, your table you need to create. First thing, remember, first thing you need to create table. Though you go with the JDBC or Hibernate. Auto table creation feature also you have, but that is not recommended. Okay. In Hibernate, also you create table first, then do the mapping. Student Hibernate table I have. And one more important thing is primary key for each table. Primary key is mandatory for each table. Hibernate will not allow without primary key. Remember this. Without primary key, you are not allowed to create a table. I mean, you can create a table, but that is not allowed for mapping. So create a table, and for this table equivalent, the next thing you need to create a bean class. Okay. Step 1, create table. Step 2, create a POJO class for table. Simple bean class, student with the ID, name, email address, along with the getters and setters. That's it. A POJO class is ready. Table is there, POJO is there. Now what is required as per architect, as per our understanding, to generate queries or to understand to Hibernate, your POJO class need to map to which table, right? You need to have a mapping file here.
Sir, one question here, is this DTO bean or entity bean, sir?
Entity.
That
This
is
is your
always
entity.
confusing for me. Okay.
No, as you should understand based on its place. If it is in controller, consider like a DTO. If it is in DAO, consider it like an entity. No confusion, na? Yeah. So now this is the mapping file. We will be creating one hbm.xml file, Hibernate mapping file. Hibernate mapping is the main root tag. Here you can configure your classes. I have a student class. This student class data need to insert onto which table? Student Hibernate table. The table name is student Hibernate. and schema means username here, system. So what I need to insert in this table, this ID need to insert into which column? In this table, I have column ID only, same names, right? Name, email, address, same names I have, which is my bean also having. If you have a different name instead of ID, consider here you have student underscore ID. If this is your name, primary key name, I mean your ID name, you need to put that here, column, by specifying column. When this column is mandatory, if your bean variable name and table variable names are different, your table column names are different, then you should specify ID need to map to which column, name need to map to which column. Let me create, instead of simple name, student name, student email. If they have different naming convention, okay, you should specify that.
Oh, sorry, this is test project, so we have only entity bin. Right?
Entity, I didn't get you.
Entity bin. Whatever pose, single pose you wrote, that is entity bin, right?
Yeah. మీకు కంట్రోలర్ ఉండి కంట్రోలర్ నుంచి డేటా వస్తుంది, అది ఎక్స్చేంజ్ చేయడానికి ఒక ఆబ్జెక్ట్ కావాలంటే డిటిఓ క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం. ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎ కంట్రోలర్ ఫ్రమ్ దేర్, ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ సెండింగ్ డేటా టు సర్వీస్. నా ఐఎమ్ జస్ట్ డీలింగ్ విత్ దిస్ పోజో సింపుల్ ఎంటిటీ. ఐఎమ్ నాట్ రైటింగ్ ఎనీ కంట్రోలర్ సర్వీస్ ఆల్ ద లాజిక్, రైట్? Okay, maybe that you will realize anyway, you are into Spring, right? So you can see. So this ID map to student ID, name map to student name, email map to student email, address map to student address. Okay, from mapping it will understand into which table it should execute when I give student object.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir, that ID name, that property name, sorry, ID name, it is same exact as in the student Java name, no? That ID name, email address, same as in student.java, no?
No,
Naming
not
convention for that.
exactly. What I was saying is the table name is student Hibernate, correct? In my SQL, my table name is student Hibernate.
Yes.
So in database schema, whoever is designing tables, they specified some naming conventions as per database rules. But I don't want to follow that in Java. I don't need to follow. You must observe, right? Your database columns will have capital name, underscore ID, underscore name, underscore email, underscore address. This is how the standards we follow in SQL. But the same naming conventions you need not to follow. If same name, if you put it Java side, Java people will see up top to bottom to us.
No,
Why
no,
you
sir,
are
no, sir.
using
They're
this?
not, sir, not related to database. That name email is same written in student.java, no?
Exactly.
Java Pojo clause. Wow, that's
Obviously.
okay. Okay, that's
No, I understand it in a different way. You know, same names in the sense when you have same column names, you need not to specify column name here. If your bean
okay, yes, sir, I
property name
understand.
in table also, yeah. But otherwise it should be same name of your bean.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
If you change the property name equal to name one, then it will be different now.
Correct. Name one if you put
Yeah.
here, then here also you need to put name one.
To change, na? Yeah, that's it. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Mapping between pose and
Poja and table. This is mapping
table.
between Poja
That
and
is the-
table.
Yeah.
Poja to table mapping only. Cool. Now,
Excellent.
one configuration file also required to create your connections and connection pool. So via this configuration file giving driver class name, Orchil driver, same whichever I used in JDBC, same username, password. Apart from this 4, one connection pool benefit also they given default feature. So you need not to write connection pool logic. They are doing it for you. So you know without connection pool, if you create application, right, your application performance is nightmare. It will take lot of time to insert at least 1 lakh records. It will take 1 day, whereas with connection pool it will execute it in maybe hardly in 10 minutes. If you even
That
have
much
huge
difference
data
is
also,
there, sir.
lot of difference.
1 day to 10 minutes. That much difference. Sir.
Lot of difference. That have you completed connection pool discussion? You are from 740, right?
We were still looking the application context, sir.
For 840 batch we discussed it. Okay, I'll show you. Anyway, next session we can see. So you will see lot of difference. That's why direct connections are not recommended. Direct connections are like, every time when you want to call to your friend buying a new phone. Will you do that? No, right? We will be having same phone, same SIM card, same number for any number of calls. You reserved it for you. You are not returning it to Geo back and getting it again whenever you want to call. Similar thing, opening connection, closing connection, also same thing. Getting SIM, activating your SIM card, and then you are making a call, and then again you are giving SIM card to back. Is that a recommended? I mean, that will take a lot of time to process, right? To get the connection, to close the connection. Same thing will be happened with your JDBC also. To open connection, it will take some time. To close the connection also, it will take some time. Between, if you don't do proper open and close operations, again, it will create unnecessary issues. Whereas all that issues will be handled by connection pool. And the great facility we have is connection pool can able to keep users in wait queue. When you go to Tirupati temple, there we wait in a queue, right? So it will make us to wait. Connection pool will make you to wait. It will not throw exceptions. Whereas JDBC will throw straight away exceptions in a harsh way. Arkill is not able to open socket for you. You will be seeing strange exceptions. When you have connection pool, even you don't see that exceptions. So connection pool is mandatory for any application.
Okay. And what is that update properties or auto update?
Yeah. So that is what DDL. So here the next property is dialect. Dialect. So this is the dialect, 11th line, very, very important line. Dialect, line number 11.1. So now, earlier I used to write this SQL code, so I know which database I was using. If it is a Arkill understandable SQL query I used to write. If it is a MySQL understandable query, or DB2 query, or SQL Server query. So based on database, you as a developer, you must aware of that database. You were writing that queries here in the JDBC, right? In JDBC, you were writing this SQL queries. So you must aware which database you are using. So if you are using Arkill understandable query only you should write. While dealing with Arkill, if you write Microsoft SQL Server query, it will not execute. It will say, why man giving this query to me? Because you told me to connect with Arkill database and giving unnecessary stuff here. So if it is a Arkill query only you should write. If it is a DB2 understandable query only you should write. So database to database, few queries are different. Data types also different. So how your Hibernate will get that? How Hibernate will know that here? Which database you are using? As a developer, you should tell that via dialect. I'm using Arkill dialect. Then it will say, okay, man, I'll create a Oracle understandable query only for you. You are giving POSO to me, and it's my responsibility to create SQL query, right? So as a Hibernate, it's my responsibility to create a query. So I will be generating query here based on your dialect. You specified me that you are using Arkill via dialect. Okay, I'll be taking care.
Sir,
You specified Arkill dialect.
Isn't it redundant? We already specified Oracle driver. It means PL SQL, right?
No, not redundant. Again, coming to Oracle, how many versions it have? Still, I'm using Arkill 10. In industry, we have Arkill 20 also. I don't know latest version, 19 or 20, 22, somewhere. So if it is a different version, if you have a different kind of schema for that version, you should specify that. Oracle 10G dialect, Oracle 11 dialects. Like that, we have multiple dialects. We have Oracle 12 dialect. I given a generic dialect.
Oh, okay.
Database credentials are given. It will understand you are using Oracle, but which version you are using? Hibernate don't know that. Or which version you want to suggest to Hibernate. You need to specify that also here. So that it can understand, okay, developer is trying to asking me to generate queries for the Oracle database. So it will generate it for you, Oracle database queries. Okay, forget about these two properties. Now using these properties, it can able to connect with your database and it can able to generate SQL queries. In this configuration file itself, I attached my mapping file also. Now at a time I will load this single file. This file is attached with your mapping file also. So two files will be loaded into Hibernate. Now when you write your code, write Hibernate code here. Hibernate will load two files. Not only two, via your configuration file, it will load all the files. All your configurations also. I have one configuration file. I did my configurations here. And I have a student mapping file, course mapping file, employee mapping file. It depends on how many tables you have, how many beans you have. Mapping file 1, mapping 2, mapping 3. So at a time, I will be loading this configuration file into Hibernate. So it reads your configuration and your mappings as well. All your mappings and configuration. So that's why I attached here mapping file. If you have 10 POSO classes and 10 mapping files, you configure them here. Now how I will write CRUD operations. How I can write CRUD operations here. Now see one save client I implemented. So this is one-time code. This is one-time code. We will be writing in a somewhere in init method or configurations @beans if you know Spring. One-time code only, okay? Don't fear that I am writing this code again and again. You will even not see that code. So from here only imagine you are writing your code. Okay, so this code one-time effort, one time only we will be putting. Now, whenever you want to do CRUD operation, you need to get one connection. Session factory.open session will give you one connection from pool. It will give one connection from pool. And by default, set auto commit is false. So you need to commit your transaction. So by default, your set auto commit is false. So you are beginning a transaction here to commit it later after my CRUD operations. Now consider this object is coming from front end via JSON and Spring MVC, converting everything and given to you. Once you get the student object, you need to call your session.save and pass that student object here. So it will save it directly, no JDBC code. So just assume this data is coming from controller. Now once you got the data using this session, I opened a session. Using this session, I'm calling save and giving this object. That's it. It will save the data. And finally, it will return you back your primary key, whatever is your primary key. So that primary key, I'm printing it. Later, I'm committing it. Committing my transaction and closing session. Okay. Closing session factory also. Closing session means return to pool. You are just returning it to pool. And this code also you will never see. Okay. So just I'm writing it in a main method. I'm ensuring that my connection pool also closing. But one time only this code will execute. This is like a destroy logic. This is like a initialization logic. one time only somewhere in your configurations, it should execute in your init methods and destroy methods of your application. And this one will given by user. As I am hard coding it here. So generally user will pass that data. The only thing that you need to do is save operation. Get the session, begin transaction, save it, commit it, close your session. That's it. You are done. No SQL query, nothing I am writing, just giving a object to my Hibernate session. Run it. So in database, you don't have the schema, right? With the student ID, student name. Let us recreate it. Student Hibernate. Let me drop the table, okay? Drop table. Table is dropped. Student ID, student name, email. Yeah, if you guys are not talking, go to mute. So this table is created. Guys, go to mute. Okay. So now student Hibernate table is there with the given columns. And actually you need not to create table. Hibernate also can create, but this is dangerous property, okay? This is not encouraging property. Always I'll keep it validate. I don't recommend you to use it. Show SQL will generate SQL queries. It is generating SQL queries, right? Hibernate is doing it for you, right? That internally generated SQL queries you can see. Okay, I did save operation here. Run it and see, will it do save for me or not? Oh, good. I got exception at least. Invalid username or password. So Hibernate internally tried to connect with your database for connection pool. It identified that my password is wrong. So it is saying your password is wrong. Yep. Now it is giving me my ID, whatever I saved, primary key, 111 I inserted, and internally generated query also it is printing for me. Hibernate showing a query, insert into system schema dot student table name. See, nice query it is generated for me. After Poser class, what you did, step 3, mapping file. Step 4, configuration file also you given.
Or where is it showing SQL in the out?
In your console. In your console it is showing. So this is the SQL query that is generated. This line generated by Hibernate.
And the save is written in primary key.
Yes.
Uh,
My
but,
primary key is ID. I'm getting it.
okay.
Good, right?
It is not auto-generated, right?
No, I did that. So auto-generated is a feature. When we use that, it will generate for you. So this simple save operation is. So I want to update. If you want to update it, simple. For update also, you use simple update method. Update or save or update. Save or update will do what? If record not there, it will insert. If record is there, then it will update.
Like post.
Okay. Yeah. So now if I see Is my record inserted in that new table which I given from Hibernate? Yes. Student ID, name, email, address. 111 ID, ABC at Gmail, Hyderabad. Inserted. Now I am trying to use save or update on this method in this record. What it will do, as this 222 record is not there, again it will insert. But before insert, what it is doing, it is trying to selecting that record. It is ensuring that, to update it, to update the record, it should know, right, whether that is there or not. So Hibernate is very smart, checking it first, whether your record is there or not. Then it ensured that your record is not there, then inserted. Okay, the record is there, so inserted. Cool. Record is not there, so inserted. Second record also came. Now here LMN Ymail to LMN Gmail I will update. LMN Gmail. Earlier it was used insert method. If I run it now, it will do update method because already record there on database. Now also it did select and understand that record is already there, then it is updating it. Update system, student, set name, email, address. So when you select it, you will be seeing Ymail to Gmail. So the Gmail is updated. So Hibernate is doing this, inserts or updates or deletes for you. If you want to see delete also, let me have here only. I'll comment it. So if you want to delete, do session dot, just give data object, student, bus, one line, data for ensuring to delete. It selected your data and deleted it. Check your record. Excuse me. So the data is gone. Your record is deleted.
Go to save client, sir, once. Save client. We use session.save and it is insert. This is insert, right?
This is insert.
Okay. Save or update is update. Okay.
Now you have select the methods also. Yep.
If Hibernate returning any Oracle error, so what will be the value for that PK?
No, it will be, if that is happening issue, nothing you will get, right? The code will be terminated. Your code will be terminated, no?
So means we got to manage that exception, right? So that kind of exception we got to manage, no?
See, it is not even forcing you to handle it. It's your, part of your coding. During unit testing, when you find, or during testing when they find issues, you should handle them. As of now, I don't see any problem. As I am giving the data, I'm confident I will get the primary key. If it is generating auto primary key, though in that case also it will give primary key. If it is throwing exception, means even it don't return you any value. It will terminate your code. Okay. You should handle it, of course. You handle it, or you put global exceptions. Somewhere you should track it, right? If any problem happened to your application. Okay.
Okay.
We will do all this in global exceptions. Generally, we never put any try catches inside code unless if it is very, very, very important. Otherwise, we navigate every exception to global exception handler. There we log it simply what is happened.
And one more question.
What?
So in real time scenario, so currently we have maintain only one table. in that configuration file. So in real-time scenario, if you're fetching any records from some other table, if you let's say we have joined 2 or 3 tables in that query, and we have to select only the particular queries, only particular columns. How we have to maintain that queries here?
HQL concepts they given. HQL.
Okay.
Instead of simple get method or find all methods, when you have joins complex type, right? They given HQL or native SQL also. Still you see that HQL writing also feel complex. I want to write direct SQLs using Hibernate. You can do that as well. We see SQLs most of the cases for select operations. We call it like HQL. You see HQL examples are there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I will be showing you select records. Okay. Selecting data. Selecting data. Select one row. There are 2 methods for this purpose. There are 2 methods for this purpose. You guys feeling hungry? Want to go for lunch?
Sir, are we finishing everything today, or tomorrow is there?
Not possible to finish all this. I thought of giving you high level so that you could able to go with examples and document. To get basic knowledge, because in Spring Boot when you see these ORM concepts, right, you should not surprise how it is happening. Now the core of Hibernate you understand, right? So you will not surprise when you see that there.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought of giving you this information here. Still you guys can open all the examples and try to run them and see what's happening. With the method name itself you can understand what it is doing. Okay, so for select operation I am asking for a student object who is having ID 11. So it will give you that object directly. It's a get method. It will return you object, and from that object you can get the data. No SQL query, nothing. Simple select. Okay. If you want to see, let me configure it. Okay. Now see get client, how it will fetch your data. I got data. ABC record I got. I given ID 1, 111, ABC record I got. 222 is for LMN. If that is not deleted, you can get it. It is saying null pointer exception, no record for 222. So as record is not available, it is not giving you. Fine. There is a load method also for simple select. Give 111.
So load and get are the same.
Mostly. So it is giving you data. A, B, C, H, Y, Z. Okay. HYD. ABC data giving here. The difference between these two is at line number 20, I am printing it ID, right? Let me print one SOP here. System.out.println. After ID, print. Okay, in load, I am writing it. And for get client also, I'll be writing it after printing ID. Okay, just executing my code, see what's happening. After ID print call is there, right? After ID print call. Let me put before ID also. before printing my ID, and after printing my ID, I'm just two SOP statements. So just trying to selecting one student record. So in output, I can see first select query is fired. Then as usual, your ID printed. After ID, name, email, address is printed. This is with the get method. Let me run load client. Now load client run before ID printing, right? No SQL query fired. ID printed very confidently. After ID printing, before name, email, address printing the select query is firing. You guys observed this output? Select query is firing after printing your ID. Whereas in get, select query is firing before printing your data, complete data, even ID also, before printing ID itself. Means get method, as you said, for select operation, it is directly going to database and selecting the data. If there is data, it will give you. If there is no data, null pointer exception, it will give you. Then if there is a data, you are printing it straight away after selection only. Whereas in load doing what? When you do select operation, nothing it is doing. It is not going to database. It is lazy one. Load is. I printed confidently 111. Same idea given to load. It is saying, okay, your record is there, print it, take it. I only given this ID to load. Load is acting very smart. It is saying, take your ID. I got the data. But whenever I try to fetch remaining fields, non-primary key, name, email, address, then it is firing SQL query on database. Whereas get not did that. When I try to give an ID, immediately it fired SQL query during line number 17 itself. Whereas load not executed during line number 17. It executed during your line number 23. So load is the lazy one. With the given primary key, it will create a duplicate proxy object and it will give that to you as an output. Though your record is not there. Let me give 222 here and run the load. See the lazy one. Given my ID, confidently it is returned my ID. I thought the record is there. Then when I try to get my name or email or address non-primary key value, then internally it is going and fetching the data from database. Then it realized there is no record in database. So it's a lazy one. I don't see the value of load. Okay. So it is not doing fire until unless you try to fetch the non-primary key value. So I recommend to go with get only. Okay. When you can go with load, if you are sure that this record is there. Otherwise load will create unnecessary issues. By considering this object, if I believe that object is there in database, my assumption may go wrong. So don't go with load. We don't have such confusing methods in JPA. Okay. Yeah. So this is how you can get a single record via get or load. Use get only. Okay. But in interviews, people may ask what is difference between Hibernate session, get or load. Get will immediately fire select query to get the data, whereas load will not fire any SQL query until unless you call non-primary key field. Yeah. Let me show you one select all example also. Then I can wind up this session, okay? Hibernate. Select one record we saw. select. Using HQL, you can get it. Let me show you it. Just import each example, okay? Just import each example and delete this unfound jar files and add the jar files from the jar which you downloaded, right? Jar also available in the given link. So add that jar files and just go to client and run it. To make sure your code will run right, to make sure, as tables are not available in your database, ensure this database schema, username, passwords are correct or not. And here you can use update only. If you put update, automatically it will create table for you, only for your practice, but it is not recommended, okay? Just go and check username, passwords of this driver and run each example. It will work in your machine, okay? Now here I am trying to inserting 3 records. What is the table name? Employee table. I'll put employee RBU. Okay, it will be creating employee RBU table. In the table, I'm inserting 3 records, LMN, XYZ, ABC, with their salaries. So 3 employee records got inserted. Check whether this table is created and data inserted or not. Select star from employee RBU. Yes, the data got inserted. Now let's do select operations. Don't I have, just a minute guys. Find all method without HQL. Oh, so either you need to go to HQL or we have criterias. Via criteria or HQL, you need to get select all. I'll show you. So let me show you criteria example. Hibernate criteria. So criteria's APIs they given just to simplify select operations, okay? To simplify your select operations. So you got a session here. Now using this session, I want to get all the records. Session dot create a criteria on a student class. Sorry, employee class.
So it does not give select all by default, sir, on that session object on the database connection.
Think no method. Is there any method you guys see? There is no find all or get all. There is no get all also. No such method, okay? Either go with criteria or persist, refuse, save, update. Yeah, no such method. But don't worry, in JPA, Spring Data JPA, we automatically it will generate all the methods. No find all method. You can use criteria. Create a criteria dot list. It will give all the records. So this is one way to get all your records. List of what? Employee objects. Simple. You got employee list, then iterate through it and print them.
So this is then which part is called HQL here?
We are not at in HQL, okay? Instead of criteria, we will be placing HQLs here. Session factory dot close. So this is criteria concept only. So it returned 3 employee objects. Maybe if you can get their ID names, email IDs, something, right? You can see 3 employee names only printing. A, B, C, LM and XYZ records given here. Now using HQL also you can do that. See, this is HQL example. This is your HQL query to select one record from bean where ID equal to 111. Is there any table with employee? In my database, the table name is employee underscore RBU. But this is my bean. HQL queries will be written on bean. HQL queries written on bean, but Hibernate, right? Hibernate will convert them to table. You need to return on bean only, but Hibernate will convert them to table. So this query finally will generate like select star from employee underscore RBU where ID equal to 111. So SQL is independent. HQL is independent of your SQL. I'm not using direct SQL here. So in future, if I change the table name, I need not to come here and change my bean name. My table name got changed. So table name I will modify it here. I don't worry about my queries. My query is independent of the table name because I returned it my bean name.
Okay, so we have added the associated table name in the configuration file.
So what's the
Yes.
difference between JDBC and HQL, sir? Besides Pojo, besides Pojo instead of table name, is there any difference?
Opening connections, closing connections, connection pools, everything. See, beyond that, what it is happening means nothing. Internally, it is happening same. But HQL giving you advantage, right? In future, if you change your table name, in case of SQL, you are going to your SQL query and there you are interrupting your queries. But I need not to interrupt this query, though my table name is changing here. In future, if you change it to RBU to something XYZ, I need not to touch my code. Still, it will work like select star from that new table only. This is your bean. Bean is not changed. HQL is something like your SQL only. In SQL, we write queries on table, whereas in HQL, we write queries on bean. The advantage is you are writing query on bean, which is independent of table because table names are configured inside mapping file. So as a developer, you will be getting flexibility to change the table names here. So it will not impact your query here. Okay.
So we don't write select star, sir.
Nothing, just from anything is required. I mean, if you need a particular column, then you need to select name only. Then you need to put select name from employee. If you need all, then select star is not required. Just from table. Okay.
So as we are writing this for all, we get rid of predicate where ID.
Yeah. The parameter column names are not specifying here. We are trying to get ID, name, email address, all the columns. If you need columns, then you should specify them.
No. We are trying to get all, right? Get all.
Yeah, if you want all, then you can remove where also. That's it from employee. You will be getting multiple employee records. Earlier, it was a single record. I was confident to get into one record. Unique result. Let me do it. This is for all. Let me write for all HQL for all. Now, no where condition, nothing. from employee. Pass your query into session.create query. It will give you query all object. So use this query to get list instead of unique result, right? I'm getting now list. So list of what it will give, employee objects. Employee list. Iterate through it and get each employee.
So query dot list and query dot query object dot unique result.
Yep. When you need only one object, your expectation is one object, use unique result. When you are expecting from your query multiple objects, use list. See this, the first query given, one single record, second query given, 3 records, 3 or 4, whatever. All the records. End of the day, your query again converted into SQL query only. Simple SQL query is generated. From table, from system schema, employee RBU table. Okay. So to deal with the select operations, you have criteria and HQL. Are you guys good so far? For simple insert, update, delete.
Yes, sir. For joins, what was it? Okay.
You
For
do
joins,
right.
no. For joins, we use HQL explicitly, sir.
Yes.
Not session dot.
No. Create query, under create query only you need to pass session dot create query. Okay, yeah, explicitly you need to pass your query. There is no method.
Oh, okay. Either criterion or
Create query.
HQL query.
Correct. This is very important one. In real time, simple selects, very less we write, right? We will be having multiple tables combinations always. You put that query here in HQL and pass it here. In
Sir,
Spring Data JPA also we do that. Using @ query, we pass our query. So it do the remaining for us. Yeah.
That's what I was asking. In Spring JPA, we will write one entity layer, right? Repository, service, controller.
No.
And
what you will see there is we will be having no HBM files and no configuration file. Configuration file we do under properties file only. Instead of this HBM file, there we use simple annotations only. So we can avoid that. We can avoid this file, okay, just by keeping annotations here. See the same example I can give you in annotations also. You can mention @ table.
Yeah, entity bin.
So you can configure your table name here.
@ column.
Table name. And my database schema I can specify here. System. And if it is a primary key, mention @ID. And remaining columns also. If there are different naming conventions, you can use @ columns. Put your column names, which is specific. Let's say student name, something like this if you have. As we don't have different naming conventions, same name, I'm not using column.
Oh, this
So
is
now
replacement for mapping. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Just put one more annotation, entity, bus. You are done. Now no mapping file, delete it.
Schema.
Now go to this configuration XML file.
Sir, schema, there is username or actual schema of tables?
Which one? Table.
Go to
this one. This is your database schema. Username only. If it is a MySQL, it is your DB name. We'll create database, right? The DB name. In Arkel, it's username.
Oh, not the XC schema.
Not XE. Yeah.
Okay.
So in case of annotations, just avoid this, and here instead of mapping resource, you have attribute called mapping class. Just give your class name. Where do you have this employee bean? Inside beans.
Entity class name.
Bus. See, all this stuff we are not doing in Spring. Everything they avoided, even configuration stuff also. Mostly defaults they given. Mapping, configuration, reading. But this example will help you. There, while I am doing, you can put all these questions. Where you are doing these configurations in Hibernate, you used to do. Where do you configure this mapping in Hibernate we used to do? You can put all these questions there. And here, instead of configuration class, I'll be using annotations configuration class.
Where, sir? In Spring Boot? Or?
Hibernate. In Spring Boot, nothing you will see. Zero code, I'm saying, right? But you should see how zero code also generating. You should have that imagination to add your, to think how it is working.
Sir, one question, sir. Let's say you wrote a Spring Boot microservice for student table. Is it always for one table only, that microservice, or like when do we use join in the DAO layer in JPA? Microservices are just very granular.
Not for one
right?
table. Not. It depends. It's all depends on your business. Okay. Yeah, again, there are conflicts with the tables also, table wise permissions. If users don't have access, we don't give select also on different table. We don't allow that. In case if you have two tables, you are the user. For you, if it is okay to get the two tables, join it. We unnecessarily doing 1 lakh records from one table, another 1 lakh from another table, and doing iterations. If you give a join query, immediately it will get the required result, and that's it. So now using annotations, we did it. See, again, the same behavior with no mapping file.
In HQL query, we are passing only B, right? HQL select query.
HQL, you want me to show? Yeah, this.
Yeah. In HQL select query, we are passing only B, right? Instead of table name, we are passing
only bean.
Yeah.
Correct.
So now, in particular application, we have thousands of tables. So if I'm accessing that, so each table we have to create each bean, or how?
Exactly. If you want, it is not mandatory. Out of 1,000 tables, 20 only you need. Put 20 beans only.
Okay, so if I want to access those tables, I have to create bean. So through the bean only I can able to access.
Exactly.
Okay.
So here you will see the, complexity of configuration initially. Okay. But later during application usage, it is very simple, right? One time effort only configuration. Just you need to create your bean and you need to put mapping. That's it. 1-2 annotations hardly.
Hello,
okay?
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, here we have written schema is equal to system. What is defined here?
Schema is your database name. In MySQL, you created a separate database, right? Create database name in MySQL. In database, in Arkel, this is my schema, system schema I'm using. System is my username actually. It is creating in XC schema. Though I'm using system, it is creating in XC schema.
And then in SB in XML file we have written the connection pooling equal to 10. Why it is different? 10.
If you want 10 active connections only, always at a time only 10 users if you want to allow, you have a small shop, only 10 customers only you could able to handle, put 10 only here. If you have a big shop, a shopping complex, you can allow 100 users at a time. So my database is up to 100 connections it can able to provide, give 100 here. So maximum 100 users can hit my application at a time.
But if our requirement, if you don't know the how many user can hit at a time, then if my
It's
application is
learning,
live,
right? It's no, it's learning. For any application, it's learning. You need to know. Maybe initially go with 10. Later, when you see performance issues, improve it.
but sir, like we are like we have a e-commerce website. Here, how can hit? How we define that this user will hitting? How many user is hitting? Like Amazon was there.
No, we should have that analysis. Okay, so see how you will put a stock if for a season. Let's say you are selling ACs in your shop only for that particular season. You are ordering particular number of products. How many products you will order for next upcoming season?
We can
It's
do
all depend
analysis from the last year.
from the last. Same thing. Amazon or any e-commerce need to have that analysis. Via dashboards, they will have all the information, how many customers daily basis they are coming, how much time they are spending, all that analysis they will have, so that appropriate configuration they can provide to them. And cloud also supporting, right? From another hand, if there are huge users, also automatically connections count we can configure, it will increase.
But sir, while using Spring Boot, this property we can't use with their connection pool size.
You can put there also we have Hikari connection pool configuration or basic data source configuration. You can do that.
Okay, in property file.
What is Hikari?
That is one of connection pool provider, like Apache providing basic data source, C3PO, Hikari, or your own custom pool implementation, that is, which is using default in Hibernate. Spring Boot.
Okay. So answer is we don't know how many pool connections we need. Like unless we
Yes,
see
unless
we see the production
but
performance.
while procuring database itself, see, are you installing database, or will you procure database from DevOps team? Will you ask DevOps team to create a database? We will be asking DevOps, right? Or some infrastructure team. So while you asking them, they will ask you how many connections you want during procuring that. So if you imagine that your application is having lot of users hits, if you think that 100 are not sufficient, 1000 is required. When you say 1000, they will configure 1000 for you. And again, they will put one more question to you. Do you want to increase this if somebody, if 1000 threshold, if it is reached? If all 1000 is consumed, do you want to increase that 1000 to again 1500? Yes.
Oh,
When you
plus
imagine
500.
Plus 500 automatically that will add. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, always we understand that from learning only. First, initially, maybe we will go with small size. When we see that's not sufficient, we can increase it. And in cloud, we have auto incrementation support also. They do it for us. Yeah. So this knowledge is sufficient, guys. Okay. So at least I'm expecting this knowledge to everyone for Spring ORM or Spring Boot, whoever from the sessions, right? This is sufficient, really. Okay. To know more about Hibernate, go through all the examples, go through material. Okay, you will find each and every example.
Oh, okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay,
So
and
you
do
said
let me know if you need any help.
you
Yep.
said that we will discuss connection pool and Spring Boot, right?
Yeah, the discussions are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now a little bit comfortable, sir, with JDBC and
Hibernate is nothing,
Hibernate.
right? Simple concept.
Hmm.
Yeah. These same features were enabled in EJBs also. Think about it. It was released in 2000s itself, 98, 99 somewhere.
Hibernate, sir.
EJB.
Oh, easy.
In EJB entity beans, where we used to use WebLogic to run that EJB components, EJB container we used to use. So there was a lot of container dependency. So he frustrated. He thought of designing a new framework, Gavin King, without any container dependency. He brought Hibernate. I didn't use any special software, right, to run Hibernate. But instead of Hibernate, if you are using EJBs here, you definitely need to buy a server, WebLogic kind of server. Okay. He avoided that. He made it free, container free. He designed in such a way. This is the container configuration class. In our Spring application context is a container class. So Spring came against to the entire EJB section beans concepts and all. So they thought of same thing, right? Avoiding container dependency. They brought with self container. Hibernate also did the same. Of course, Hibernate is the first framework. Before Spring itself, it was there in the market. Very popular one since the beginning till today. Okay.
So, like IOC container, we have configuration.
Yes, internally we will be writing factories to execute configuration with @bean. We thought of discuss, right? There we do all this stuff. One-time setup. Configuration classes we write. Okay, I'll tell you there.
Oh.
You will be getting connection to this topic easily. So others, whoever joined for this particular workshop, right? Please go through the examples and please go through the recorded this session, and there are Hibernate discussions videos